Hi everybody, my name is Frank Schwarzenau, and I'm a Principal PDS, Partner Development Specialist for Security, and I'm joined here by James. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm James Devine. I'm a Principal SA on our enterprise accounts.
And we're going to talk about centralized security, specifically for hybrid and multi-cloud. Who of you have had a multi-cloud conversation with your AWS counterpart so far? Anybody? Anybody? Yeah? I still find it mind-blowing that people think that you can't say this word with us, right? You can, and there's a team of over 200 people that is cranking out thought leadership content on multi-cloud every day, all day. And we have a lot of internal mechanisms already to position partners, which is my job, but then also for you as customers. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about multi-cloud security, then we're going to jump into actual technical content, and then I'm going to give a partner solution in the end. And just to sort of like make sure that everybody's on the same page, multi-cloud, more than one CSP, hybrid, on-prem plus one cloud, and then hybrid multi-cloud that we're essentially optimizing for is if you have two cloud providers plus an on-premise present. And what we've seen in the market, or what we have our customer conversations, why customers choose multi-cloud, is very easily bucketed in those four buckets. So mergers and acquisition is sort of the no-brainer. You acquire a company that is operating on a different cloud. Differentiated capabilities is when the customer is trying to assimilate capabilities from different cloud providers that are specialists in a certain area. Regulatory requirements, especially with data sovereignty, we see a lot of requirements where our customers say we don't want to be in multi-cloud, but we have to. And AWS is committed to meeting our customers where they are. That's why we're building this thought leadership content, and we're having more and more services that reach beyond the AWS cloud. The ISV use cases also sort of similar to what AWS approaches, that ISV partners of ours that are building solutions, meeting the customers where they are. That's why they're serving for multi-cloud customers. Some of the metrics here may be interesting to you. 81% of our organizations that we have quizzed are operating in more than one cloud, so it's the vast majority. And of that 81%, only a very small fraction is actually having distributed workloads in a meaningful way across different clouds. Most of them have a primary cloud provider, and here is probably a good position to say AWS still recommends for our customers to choose AWS as your primary cloud for security, for operational efficiency, and for cost purposes, because it's just very complex to manage more than one cloud. And the other stats that you see on here kind of paint that picture as well, that a lot of our customers that are in multi-cloud face challenges from a data perspective. They're not feeling confident that they're going to be able to secure all of these different cloud providers in a meaningful way and in a consistent way, and that there are some inconsistencies there. So the challenges that we're trying to address, and that James is going to try to address a little bit, are very nicely summarized here. I'm not going to go through all of these, but as I said before, complexity is increased with several CSP providers. Security, identity, access is always a concern, and not every cloud provider is managing their customers in the same way. Not every customer has the same shared responsibility model, and kind of matching all of this at the same time is getting complicated. What we're committed to for our customers, though, is providing thought leadership. Who has been on the AWS multi-cloud website so far? Okay, no one. Thought so.
It exists, though.
So there is a website on our public website that is talking about all of the AWS services that have multi-cloud capabilities, and we're keeping the product descriptions up to date when it comes to launching new capabilities. For instance, in reInvent, we launched over 16 new multi-cloud capable features. For instance, CloudWatch is now able to observe Azure. All of those kind of things are on that website and centralized. There's actually a partner solution. There's more than one partner solutions on this website as well that we're that we're trying to promote. I just talked about this is the list of services. You may be surprised that a lot of these services that you're probably already working with have multi-cloud capabilities, and we're going to talk about some of them in a second here. And then also we're cranking out thought leadership pieces. So especially for, this one is for observability, but all of the investments that we're making with our services teams to have these features built into our native services to reach beyond the cloud also require our customers to know what the AWS recommended best practice is. These are really good content pieces, and I really encourage you to read through them or check them out online. And yeah, with those kind of best practices, let's jump into the technical part of the conversation with James.
Cool. We're going to dig into how to use AWS services to protect multi-cloud resources. So a lot of the security posture that you can have in AWS, we've increasingly been adding our services to extend to other clouds on-premise, so you have that kind of holistic view of security, and it's not kind of compartmentalized between clouds. Still a ways to go, but there's plenty of partner solutions that help fill in the gap as well. So first, establishing identity across clouds. Having a source of identity and authenticated, we use what's called SigV4, our protocol for all of the API calls that we make. So it's a very strong security model where if you have to be a trusted entity, and if you're a trusted entity, you can then go and make that API call. We can extend this to other clouds with IAM roles anywhere. We'll dig into that a little bit. And we also have AWS IAM Identity Center. It used to be called Single Sign-On. What this allows you to do is interface with your on-premise identities. So typically, you're not going to have, you're going to have some source of truth for your identities, and you can seamlessly interconnect them. So your customers can log in, assume a role, and then have access to AWS resources. It can also be programmatically through API calls from on-prem servers in other clouds. There's a lot of flexibility in how you can kind of set that up. But that's all revolves around IAM Identity Center. So what happens is you would authenticate through a third party into Identity Center, and then Identity Center would then give you a token, and with that token, you're allowed to take actions within AWS. It also works for third-party applications and just general SSO. So it's a good service for that if that's something that you need. And this all kind of works on temporary security credentials, so kind of a zero trust type of architecture where you don't really trust anything. You have to be authenticated, and once you authenticate, you have that token, and with that token, you're then able to take actions that you're granted. And the way that we do this is by assuming a role. So you assume that role, and then you can have the actions of that role, which ideally would be minimally scoped to only the permissions that you need, from a security best practice perspective, at least trust. And the way that we can extend this is IAM roles anywhere. So you can actually vend a role from your on-prem or from another cloud, and then take action in AWS with using absolutely no passwords. It's all secure token-based. The tokens can be invalidated. You can set a short life on that token as well. So it really provides that strong security model and enables you to extend it into anywhere. And that's done through creating on-prem or trust in another cloud and signing with certificates. That's kind of how we establish that chain of trust. And then the nice thing there is you can invalidate these things, and everything's logged. So, based on PKI and that type of kind of overall framework. So, from the kind of rending credentials and securely accessing and getting identities, that's kind of where IAM, and taking IAM and extending it outside of AWS, that's IAM anywhere. Now, a common pain point is management. So, within AWS, we make this easy. We have a tool called Systems Manager. This is supported on-prem for quite some time. On-prem could also be another cloud provider. So now you have a common patching framework, a common state manager. You can manage inventory. You can do patch management. We have built-in patches for all the popular Linux and Windows operating systems. So you can kind of deploy that at scale. You can set maintenance windows and get all of that kind of done. So take away that burden. I've manually had to do this before, and it's a nightmare in operations. Also, it helps with Incident Manager. Everything's being done by Systems Manager. You're not actually logging into a box and setting passwords or deploying a patch and hoping that it works. So connecting the dots, we can also do this with containers. So kind of we have the the identity piece, we have the patch management, and then moving a step further into containers, we have a product called EKS Anywhere, so it allows you to run containers outside of AWS. Could be on-prem, could be another cloud. We have ECR, our Elastic Container Registry, which can be accessed outside of AWS, and you can tie it into the IAM roles anywhere that we were talking about and have that same single pane of glass for identity and protection. And we also have our own Amazon EKS distro that you can use as well, too. So kind of across the board in the Kubernetes framework, we can support these type of architectures. I will say I don't see customers typically just deploying across all clouds, but I think running the workload in another cloud and having that same governance, compliance, and security is super key with all these services to link them together. Our security posture tends to be better than others. If you look in the news. So another angle to the Kubernetes framework is protecting your container images. When you spin up a new node, you want to make sure that what you deploy is validated and signed. You could easily have someone, a malicious actor, put in a bad image, and now every time you do a new deploy, you have a bad image, which would be certainly less than ideal. So we can do ECR image-based scanning, so we can scan the image for common vulnerabilities. It might be a version of Java that's out of date. It might be a bad package or one that's known to be malicious. We can alert on that automatically. And then we can also use Amazon Inspector, our compliance service, to kind of validate that compliance as well, too. So it's kind of both ends of that. And for signing, we can use AWS Signer to sign your container images in the Elastic Container Registry. So whenever you launch an instance, you know that it's signed and it's trusted, and you can validate that chain of custody. Whereas, especially if you're doing this on-prem or trying to do it between clouds, that could be really difficult to do. So it kind of gives you that end-to-end layer of protection. Building on the identity, so who here's seen a database with a password, like kind of put in a text file or somewhere on a configuration? I've seen it a lot, or out there on GitHub. Not a best practice. Using usernames and passwords isn't, but there's just applications that are going to need passwords, for the foreseeable future. And this is where Secrets Manager really comes in. It's a secure identity store, so you can make an API call once you're authenticated. So using something like IAM Anywhere, you can reach out, get that token, then that token is vended to you, and then you have access to those resources. And this, especially like in the Kubernetes land or somewhere where we have short-lived credentials or short-lived infrastructure, that can spin down and spin up and kind of keep that separation of responsibility and really keep things secure. It's a great service for managing any secrets that you need to access. So now you're not encoding secrets into a container image. It's not in a text file. You're programmatically making that call. And then with IAM Identity Anywhere, or IAM Access Anywhere, you can actually vend a credential from AWS. So you have to get authenticated. So there's a chain of trust with PKI and security, and then you reach into Secrets Manager because you're authenticated, and then you can get those credentials. So it adds multiple steps, and it's like multiple layers of an onion. You have to keep peeling back. So it makes it harder for the bad guys to get in. So you have that defense in depth. Yeah. Cool. So another common kind of attack surface is the edge. So at some point, if you have services or products that are out there exposed to the internet, you definitely want to protect them. And this is where we have our suite of products that can help at the edge protection. We have CloudFront, which is our content distribution network. You can do things like sign URLs. There's a lot of advanced capability in there to make sure that you can block bad stuff right at the door. And we have a firewall solution too that can integrate with that, so you can block all that bad traffic at scale. We have Route 53, our global DNS service. That actually has 100% SLA. I don't know of any other providers offering 100% SLA. It's like a kind of a no-brainer for doing DNS. It's a great service, works day in, day out, can handle massive amounts of traffic, because you can imagine our services are out there on the internet getting hit up all the time. We also have AWS Firewall Manager. So this is another service that we have. If you want to launch a firewall to protect your workloads, you can drop an endpoint into a VPC and then protect it by having that traffic pass through a firewall with Suricata compatible rules.
I'm going to just be ready for Q&A.
Now, if we So kind of the perimeter, we want to make sure that that's protected. But kind of one step down, when you get into your web applications, you want to make sure that those are protected as well. So this is where web application firewall comes in. And this can be attached to our application load balancer or to CloudFront directly. So you stop the bad stuff before it ever gets to your back-end compute. So we have pre-built rules for OWASP top 10, kind of low level, people out there just phishing, just stop them right at the edge. We have bot control, so stop the bots. You don't want people crawling your web page. You don't want bots that are just scraping your content. Just stop it right there. So you really protect it before it ever comes in at layer, up to layer 7 if you're doing a web application firewall. And then we also have Shield. This is something that if you have resources deployed on AWS today, you have Shield and you're protected by it and you don't even know it. So we block massive DDoS attacks at scale. So kind of low-level volumetric packet attacks or just bad content will just drop out of the network. We do offer a Shield Advanced where we go a little higher and it actually covers WAF rules. It's actually a pretty neat offering at scale. So there's also a financial backing. So if a bad actor goes in and spins up like tens or thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars of infrastructure because they're hitting you and you're scaling up, we'll actually give you back that credit to your AWS bill. So it's a good for both monetary protection, but also just getting access to AWS. And there's a dedicated DDoS response team. So you can open up a secure ticket and have people on it real time protecting you and making sure that your application is safe. And then, so kind of we talked about like the edge perimeter, the application perimeter, and then kind of what do you do with all of your security findings? How do you dig into these things? And that's where we have yet another suite of tools. So we have Amazon Security Lake, which can be your central repository for all your events and incidents and findings. Just dump into that. It uses a standard OCSF framework format. So with that, pretty much everything will be able to go directly into that security lake. And from there, you can start using it with our other services that can do detection, mitigation, and all types of other kind of ways to make sure that those are all in one place. We can also put it into an S3 bucket, and you can do things with S3 like setting it so no one can delete anything, or you need MFA-enabled delete, or maybe you just have no delete permissions on it at all. There's a lot of safeguards we can put in there to make sure that your data doesn't get deleted, because the first thing the bad guys do are, if they're in, they're going to go and delete the trails. You delete the breadcrumbs. So we have Security Hub. This kind of ties everything together. So if your findings are in Security Lake, then you can access them and use Security Hub to dig in and investigate. So really get that visibility and insight into everything that's going on, both on-prem cloud and other cloud providers as well. And then we can kind of streamline compliance. This is kind of another piece, which is it's a really nice tool suite that goes together. So we talked about Systems Manager. We have AWS Config, which can track your configurations and manage drift and alert on it, or even maybe roll back. Someone opened up a security group, roll it back, type of thing. So you can make sure that your policy is enforced. We have Audit Manager, so you can dig in and see some of that and go in. Another service that should be up here is Inspector. That's another great service that we have too that can kind of work and make sure you're compliant. A lot of technical stuff kind of blew through like a lot, but I'll hand it back over to you, Frank.
Since you said Systems Manager and Config, this is a good segue to this offering. One of my role in the partner organization or leading the partner track for multi-cloud is to identify partners that are using our AWS services that reach beyond AWS and make them available to our customers through partners. Rackspace is a poster child for using Systems Manager for managing their internal customers. Also together with Systems Manager and Config. You will find a lot more information about the specific offering on our AWS multi-cloud website, so check it out. If you are a partner and you're building a multi-cloud offering and I don't know about it, talk to me about it, because I would love to put your offering on our website and assist you with thought leadership, with SA help to build those kind of capabilities out. So what were the key takeaways? Security is hard, and security in multi-cloud is even harder. So we have a lot of capabilities in-house, but check them out, make sure that you're using them, use the best practice that we're making available to you. And then evaluate the whether you want to go into multi-cloud from a security lens, of course. And then, well, number 4 here, Security Hub. Use Security Hub. We didn't really talk that much about Security Hub on the slides before, but it's definitely a best practice. And always remember that we're committed to actually providing this thought leadership to you. If you haven't had a conversation about multi-cloud, set up an EBC. We have a lot of experts, over 200 now, that are focusing on this within AWS that would love to join that EBC and help you on that journey. And let's build something together.
Yeah, I would add we're here to help. There's a lot of services here, and I think even with Gen AI, solutions architects are going to have a job for the foreseeable future, getting architectures together that work. But we're here to help you and meet where you're at with your needs.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening.